This topic is all about profitability ratios. We will be focusing on 5 ratios, which are operating profit margin, net profit margin, operating return on assets, return on total assets, return on equity. The first one is operating profit margin analysis. 2015 has the highest operating profit margin with a rate of 0.05 and 2019 has the lowest with a rate of -0.3. According to the data given, sales actually increased but the EBIT started to drop in 2018, then in 2019 it plummeted down. Conclusion: based on the data given, the company did not perform well in the last 5 years. As a future investor in the company, it could be considered as a major red flag due to inconsistency of performance. But as an entrepreneur, it could be considered a normal thing that happens in a company because sometimes you reach a low point but eventually it will bounce back. Next is the net profit margin analysis. The company's net profit margin is considered low based on industry average since it ranges between 3–5% only, particularly lowest in 2019 with only 3.79%. This means that out of the 100% of 2019 sales, only 3.79% is left over for net income. Many factors contribute to this decline. First, sales have been steadily increasing from 2015 to 2018 by 12–20%, but only 3.5% in 2019. Second, there was a significant increase in depreciation expense, specifically a doubling in figures from 2018 to 2019. Looking at the balance sheet, this corroborates well and is a result of the almost double in increase of the property, plant and equipment from the said years. Third, interest expense steadily increased over the years. On a particular note, the interest expense almost tripled from 2018 to 2019. When looking at the balance sheet, we see that the short-term debt has significantly increased over the years, particularly in 2019, which quadrupled from 2018 short-term debt. These 3 factors are the top reasons on why the 2019 net profit margin has dropped from the slow but steady increase from 2015 to 2018. Conclusion: the net profit margin of JFC, which ranges from only 3–5%, is low compared to industry averages. 2019 was a particularly bad year for the company, which resulted in their 5-year low in terms of net profit margin, the cause of which is not a direct result from a decline in sales, but from an increase in depreciation and interest expense which greatly affects the net income. The quadruple increase of short-term debt is not conclusive that the company is doing poorly because its net operating cash flow is generating a positive cash flow over the years. The increase in short-term debt may well have been attributed to acquiring other businesses and assets to expand JFC's portfolio. This is evidenced by the quadruple increase in net assets from acquisition as reflected in the cash flow statement. So if we analyze it from the business long-term perspective, as long as the short-term debts have been allocated effectively, the recent decline in net profit margin does not equate to poor business health, but may serve as a future catalyst for business growth. Next is the operating return on assets analysis. Same with operating profit margin. 2015 was the highest with a ratio of 0.08 and -0.03, and 2019 is the lowest. Total assets also increased in the following years, but EBIT still dropped 2018 and continued until 2019. Conclusion: as an investor, it still has red flags to invest in because of inconsistent performance of the company in the last 5 years. But one major factor why the company is still worth it to invest is because of the total assets. In the last 5 years, the company increased its assets every year despite the drop in EBIT. Increased assets is a sign of growth that could be considered a good quality for the company, which could attract more investors in the future. Next is the return on total assets analysis. The company was effective from 2015 to 2018, but in 2016 the company was very effective with a rate of 0.08. In 2019 the company hit its lowest rate of ROTA with a rate only 0.0368. It went down from 0.0728 to 0.0368 from 2018 to 2019. Conclusion: the data shows how effective the company was using its assets from 2015 to 2018, maintaining that rate of 0.07 from 2015 to 2018. In 2018, however, the company reached its highest rate of 0.0845. This proves the company was consistent and was earning a good amount from 2015 to 2018. The company later on suffered with its lowest ever rate of ROTA in the span of 5 years. The company ROTA plumped down to 0.0368 in 2019 from 0.0728 in 2018. This shows that 2019 was a rough year and a tight budget for the company. And lastly, return on equity analysis. The company was doing fine in 2015 even if it's a little lower than the next 3 years. Its highest year of return on equity was in 2016 since it got 0.18. However, it got a little bumpy and got lower and lower from 2017 up until the year 2019, which got the lowest return on equity, which is only 0.12. Conclusion. According to the data given, the return on equity of JFC in the last 4 years met industry average, but when it reached to 2019 it declined by 5%. The decline of net income in 2019 was a major contributing factor why it had the lowest percentage and didn't meet industry average. In 2019 the company's ability to generate profits from its shareholders' investments was compromised due to the decrease in net income profit. The company's performance in ROE could be considered as a red flag that could scare a lot of investors, but then again we also have to consider the increase of assets in JFC and it can still be revived in the following next year.